Hello, everyone. This is Spark Operator Community Call on 19th of October. This meeting will be recorded and published on YouTube. This meeting is governed by the Kubeflow Code of Conduct. Welcome, everyone. So maybe we can start this call with a quick introduction. Do we have anyone new people here on the call who just want to introduce themselves to the community?
Wisconsin. I have been dealing with Spark for about 4 years. Very excited that it got donated to the Kubeflow project. Um, so I'm just here because we've been working on it a while. We do have a PR open from one of our developers to get rid of the what do you call it? Read-only root file system for one of the things. Jacob Salloway, I love the work that you did getting rid of that netbind service within a few days. That was phenomenal. So greatly appreciate that. You will probably likely see us around at least in the somewhere. So, but yeah, moving this to 6 p.m. I think has been phenomenal for us because we haven't been able to do it during business hours. But it's a pleasure to be here and thank you.
Thanks, Nico. Any new joiners wanted to introduce themselves? Okay, that's fine. Just looking at participants, not many. That's okay. So I think we also have Charles, and Charles is the same ID you guys joined, right?
Say that again.
Charles, do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh yeah, sure. My name is Charles Adifloy. I'm from Moving Code, so we do a lot of work with Spark Operator prior to adopting it with moving into Kubeflow. We've done some stuff with it, and I'm happy to be here. And we still use it right now. We're using it for running Beam jobs and running some Spark jobs on Kubernetes. So I just felt like I should be part of these, and some of my team members are going to be joining as well, so that we can contribute and maybe share some of the knowledge we've had working on the Spark operator with the community. So I'm happy to be out there. Prior to that, I've done some work on Kubeflow. I did a lot of deployments, and we have a lot of clients running Kubeflow deployment that we've done for them. So I'm happy to be here and looking forward to working with everyone.
All right. Thanks, Charles, and welcome to Kubeflow Spark Operator community. Yeah. I think with that we can get started. Just wanted to. Everybody knows about the maintainers, but I will do a quick intro. I know we don't have Sharon Yu join today, but my name is Varabantu. Most of you know. I work for AWS, but I'm very passionate about data and also maintainer for Spark Operator. And along with me today, we have Jacob. Jacob, you want to go quick?
Hi, yeah, I'm Jacob. Haven't put my current company down because it's just a small consulting company in Sydney. But when I was working at Rocked, we used the Spark Operator internally, and that's where I got most of my experience with it from.
Thanks, Jacob. And we have Echan, who is our main contributor to this repo. Did a lot of work.
Hi, I'm Echan. I came from China, and I'm working at Alibaba Cloud, and I'm the maintainer of the Spark Operator. Okay.
Thanks, you. I think you're breaking up a little bit. I think the network is a little bit flaky there. That's okay. Yichin, as you know, is one of the main contributor. And the first thing in the agenda today is would like to introduce, I know Sebastian is not here, Sebastian Maintrod. who became a maintainer. He contributed to a lot of features within Spark Operator, but I welcome Sebastian to add to this maintainers group. And it's getting bigger and bigger. I really liked when we started. We were like a little bit nervous. How many people are going to come on a board? But I can see one thing Sebastian has also mentioned, that their company actually forked the repo and started to build their own features to make it work. And then once he has seen the momentum and the changes that our maintainers are adding, a number of features, and they decided to actually contribute back to Spark Operator and use Upstream one. And I feel like I see more and more. We will see more and more of these, and a lot of these organizations who are using Kubeflow Spark Operator. Mostly they forked it, and I'm hoping they all come back and contribute back to this and make it more successful. So that's the main introduction for the maintainers list. But I've listed a couple of items agenda. If any of you have anything that you think that needs to be discussed, but you can add it to the list at the end. You all have access to this. Yeah, so with that, moving on to the first one. Kubeflow Spark Operator feature maintenance. There is, I'm not sure if everybody is aware of it. There is a discussion about Apache Spark community adopted a new Java Spark operator that was proposed by Apple in early stages. But even before we actually raised, when I say Kubeflow Spark operator raised a SPIP proposal with Apache Spark community, we asked them to adopt Google Spark operator to become, use that as a mainstream operator, but our operator did not get selected. So just to give you the context that people who are not aware of it, but for more details, you will find it under this link. So go and this goes back to your Slack channel. And if you are part of the Kubeflow Spark operator, you'll see that. And you can see all the SP proposal that we submitted and proposal that other people have submitted under Java Spark operator. The only quick update on this is Kubeflow Spark operator is being used by many organizations. And if you go to the adopters page, you see many organizations adopted and started using it. And that is the biggest strength that we have with the Kubeflow Spark operator. And it's also written in Golang, which is more native to Kubernetes, language in a way. And we have pretty much all the features in there, but there are some feature parity between Java Spark operator and Kubeflow Spark operator, but I'm confident that with the amount of contributors and maintainers that we have, hopefully we will have all the latest features embedded into Kubeflow Spark operator. But that's the only the difference. Does anyone have any questions around it? But there's a lot of details around if you go into and read the proposals and what happened in the past. But in summary, we will continue to support Spark Operator under Kubeflow, irrespective of where Java Spark Operator goes. There is no plan at the moment to descope, move to Java Spark Operator. And we will add more and more features to this. That's the plan. We got a backup from a lot of organizations, even bigger companies. So hopefully we we continue to do that. Any questions before I move on to the next one?
So, Vikas said, just a question, like is the Kubeflow steering committee aware of basically the competition which we are having in a way from the Apache Spark operator, and have they committed to this to continue support it for at least next 2 years?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but do you want to comment on this? Go ahead, go first, sir. I can add my points there.
Oh, yeah, sure. So Kubeflow is aware of it. And I think when we submitted a proposal to Kubeflow community, we mentioned that there is an existing proposal for Java Spark operator. We also mentioned about written a paper around it and explained why this is so important to other organizations. It's not an easy path for migrating to a newer operator for a lot of these organizations because they already forked it and using it. That's the main reason. They're aware of it, and then they accepted it. So we are continue to support that. Andre, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think that's right. So we started discussion in I think August last year, and yes, we were aware of this operator while we doing this design proposal, right? After the Google actually asked us to propose to donate Spark operator from Google to Kubeflow ecosystem, right? So I think War is right. So the problem is like majority of organizations are using the Golang Spark operator. It's not an easy thing to migrate them. I think like it's up to the community to decide what will be the future. But as of now, I think like I can see the momentum within the community and a lot of new contributors coming in. So I think right now, at least for like next couple of years, we're planning to provide the support if the community agree with it.
Yeah, so I just pasted a link if that helps, and this is the initial proposal that we made it. There is a chat about it. A lot of people voted, a lot of organization voted, but unfortunately, it is not selected. It's just because Java Spark operator SPIP was proposed before us. That's one of the reasons. But yeah, so I think we're good in with that. Just moving on to the next one. If anyone has any questions, please come on and ask. Otherwise, we can move on to the next one.
A quick question on that. Let's say, how easy is it to actually contribute to Apache Spark or I guess any other projects underneath the Apache umbrella? Because like the GitHub issue workflow and kind of ability to make PRs, that lends itself, I think, to quite easy community PR acceptance. On the Apache operator, obviously that's via Jira and via mailing lists. Is it harder to get like a contribution landed under that project versus under this one?
I do not know for the Apache Spark thing, but the process is pretty much again what Apache Spark guidelines are in terms of I guess they follow Jira ticket, I guess, for raising an issues, and to me that is a little bit detached from the repo, bit complex in a way, but yeah, so if there is a new feature, and I'm sure they will accept and becoming part of that, and accept the PR. They just want to see if that's adding a value to the Spark operator as a new feature. Definitely, they're gonna merge and add it to that. But I can't speak to them. Even with the Kubeflow Spark operator, right? So you guys and most of them are aware of they're familiar with the Golang. It's easy to get that features added to our Spark operator. But yeah, so I'm not sure if I answered, but that's pretty much where with the Apache Spark.
I'll probably just add to it based on my experience, especially Apache Spark is dominated by a particular company. So getting convincing over there to basically add some new features. And I've seen that a lot of Spark on Kubernetes PRs have deliberately been delayed in the sense they've not been merged or they've not been looked into because that particular company doesn't actually offer Spark on Kubernetes services. So it's more or less like more political. That's my experience over there as in generally with Spark. So that's why I thought, in my opinion, it's like a nightmare over there convincing people to look into it. And especially if you're in Australia, those people are in US. It's again time zone difference makes things much worse.
Yeah, I think that's bold. I would say, yeah. So Spark operator, we know that our Kubeflow Spark operator We know that a lot of organizations are using it, and it's easy to contribute. But now we have bigger contributor base now, and especially Yichun, Jacob, and Sebastian came in, and they are merging the PRs much quicker than you think. Like Nico mentioned, so we are looking at every single issue, and if that's going to, not worried about actually breaking things, but there's a solid test, we can still improve it. But we are going in the right direction. One of the biggest concern with Spark Operator in the past was there are hundreds of PRs raised, but nobody ever looked into those PRs and tried to fix those things, try to address those things. But now we are, kind of solving that problem. So I feel that we are in a good position there. Right. So I would like to move on to.
Laura, can I ask you a quick question? Sorry about it.
Sure.
So I can see there's 14 open PRs. Do we close many of them recently? I think I just didn't follow this part. Or there
I
was
think
no money because, yeah, good.
I think the stale bot closed a bunch of 3-4-year-old PRs.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, GitHub Actions, right? Right. Okay. So there is just a quick update on. I know 2.0.0 is a big release, which we launched, but 2.0.2 has some key fixes. I'm gonna just open the release so that you can take a look at 2.0.1 and 2.0.2. Oops. You guys can see my GitHub page screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, right. There's nothing, there's mostly some bugs, I guess, bug fixes for the 2.0.2. And one of the key thing that I noticed was imageable policy was that. So that's pretty much on 2.0.2. If anyone has anything, Jacob, Yichin, want to talk about 2.0.2 before we move on to the next release?
So I think there's
Mhm.
the Spark user is being a really big pain in the ass. So apologies for my language. So yeah, the Sparks mission failed due to lack of permissions by user Spark. Like there's still some remnants of that there. It seems to be attached to UID 185, and the curb 5 config file is listing all of the other educational institutions like University of Utah and MIT. And so, kind of like what Jacob was saying, I think in order to fix that, we really need to we need to go to the source and go to the Apache Spark image itself. Otherwise, we're going to be constantly trying to decouple this from their image. And it's been really annoying to deal with. I mean, it can be dealt with. Obviously, we can make do, but it's not completely decoupled as we would like, or as it should be in a cloud native environment.
Is that the PR that you guys have raised? Is it 185? That's a PR.
So that's not a PR yet, because we'd have to go. We're not there yet. We're still working. Well, I mean, we haven't committed that to the community yet.
Okay. I think I've seen a PR about making 185 as a user in the template. Is it Yichin raised?
I think that's PR top of the list.
This one? Yeah. Have you seen these guys?
I haven't seen that one yet. And so, I don't want to. So to me, this is yes, this is fine. But we shouldn't have to. The user UID should be malleable. We shouldn't have to target that 185, but because the image is coming from Apache Spark, we're having to target that 185. And so, yes, this works, but to me, it's still not an ideal solution.
One idea that pops to mind is we could maintain our own, like download the Spark binary from Maven in our own image and change the user semantics there rather than using.
That's what I'm thinking we're gonna have to do. I wouldn't, yeah, I I don't have any experience with the Apache either, but I would definitely like to see if there's any kind of collaboration we can do instead of constant, because without the collaborative work, we're always going to have to be fixing the upstream. And
Did you raise an issue with upstream, like on
Not-
this one to
not
start
yet.
with?
We're starting to get more involved. We've been doing this
Mm.
in-house for a long time, and now we're and since when was Kubeflow given back in KubeCon Europe? And so I mean we've been involved in many different things, but we're just getting more involved now. So
Okay. Maybe we can start with the issue raising with upstream and try to influence that. And then definitely if you have any proposal of how we can resolve with Spark Operator, would be a good start with a simple doc or an issue. Yeah, so, and you are aware of, I know we're gonna get to the next topic where the roadmap topic. Maybe we can add that to the roadmap and see how we can this specific issue. Right. Just moving on to the next one is the pod templates feature. And I'm sure everybody wants this pod templates feature. I know there is a big interest around it. Just one of the reason is not to use, is it webhook mutating admission webhooks? Instead, just use pod templates feature and use to submit the job. But Yuchen, do you want to add anything? And that's good to the PR. I've reviewed it, and if you guys, anyone has any comments, this is going to be merged soon. Please feel free to go and take a look at that one.
would you be kind enough to explain it to me real quick? Because when I read about it, it said that if it's not specified in 3.x, the webhook will be used to mutate the driver and executor pods. Okay, never mind. I answered my own question. Apologies. It'll mutate it if it doesn't exist into what we want. Okay, sorry, I misread.
All right. Yuchen, do you want to add anything just on this one before we move on?
I think we consider this a breaking change, since we will add a new object selector in the webhook. So for the already submitted Spark applications, the webhook will not be used to patch it. So do we need to change it more smoothly, like in version 2.10, we can just add the label to all the Spark pods, and then in the next version we merge its PR. So there will be they are not breaking changes. Do you think it's okay?
Yeah, sounds
So,
good.
let's merge its PR later, maybe in
Can I ask a quick question? I'm just like wondering why initially why you didn't use pod template in a Spark CR? Was it a specific, reason you use webhook approach initially?
The pod-template feature is only available since Spark version 3. So for the Spark 2 applications, the webhook, the pod-template feature is not supported.
Yeah,
I think my question was in initial, Spark pod spec doesn't have the pod template spec, right? So you have to define the different properties like core limits, right, and other parameters specific to the Spark application, right? So why, if it is obvious that you need to define a whole pod spec template, right? Initially, why you didn't just introduce it back in the day when you first designed the CRD?
I don't know if any of us personally designed the CRT.
I see.
Yeah. So yeah, when Google started, I don't think the part templates feature is so Spark templates feature, I think, in Apache Spark started in Spark 3.0, but the older versions did not have that feature. So you have to use mutating admission webhook, especially for mounting these volumes and node selectors, stains and tolerations, and so on. But with the Spark Spark part templates, now you might not need to use that, and it's a kind of native feature. But it's good that we are adding now. So you can use part templates today without this PR, because there is a simple config option that provides within Spark submission saying, hey, this is my driver part template and this is my executor part templates with an external location. That should work. But this PR basically implements within the CRD where we don't have to specify the external or driver part templates and executor part templates. Rather, we can define everything within the our CRD YAML itself.
Yeah, I see.
I think
Yeah, because go Jake.
I think 3.0 was released in 2020, and a lot of the development on the operator was prior to then. So I'm not sure. Most of the CRD design would have been done pre 3.0.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure, Kubernetes in 2020 does support for template spec to be imported in other CRDs, right? We've been using this for other type of CRDs. Yeah, because I'm just curious, why did you decide to use mutation approach, right? Rather than, using the whole pod spec there. Yeah, but anyway.
All right. Okay, so with that, if anyone has any last minute review comments, and take a look at that PR and just see if that's going to, if you want to add any, comments or anything, review it, let us know. That's going to be merged soon. And moving on to roadmap discussion, I just added this roadmap item. Let me open that. So these are the list of new Spark Operator roadmap. Starting with the part template support, we discussed about that one, and the deprecation of webhook by moving functionality in part template. So once we have this, and you can use it without webhook. And a couple of other features which are here, Spark Connect and other things. But if you think there is anything that is missing and needs to be added, like you mentioned about security or with the user ID, let's add to the list by commenting here, and then we can shortlist and make a full release roadmap, and we can work from there. But anyone has any comments, anything, want to jump in, please feel free to.
So, Vara, since you added Spark Connect support, I would say it's better to add interactive support, because based on the work or my research so far, if we had Spark Connect support, running Spark code interactively through Kubeflow notebooks would be very easy. I think we should be able to cater for it in the same release.
Yeah, I think Sebastian mentioned a couple of ideas around it, and so I will ask him to add some comments to this of how we can achieve today with the Spark Connect. I know there's some of the users achieve that through Livy and other way of submitting workloads from Jupyter Hub to an existing cluster running on Kubernetes. I myself have not tried that particularly, but
I'm actually doing that. Tried both Livy as well as Enterprise Gateway, but the problem is you have to maintain duplicate infrastructure, and being a consultant, all my clients are complaining about it.
Right. I remember you've written a proposal, right?
Yeah, I wrote the proposal for that. And the worst part is that if you go by Jupyter Enterprise Gateway and follow the virtual cluster route, which AWS recommends, you can't get the logs in if you deploy your own Spark S3 server, you can't get the logs over there because the log formats, structures are totally different. But if we go with Spark Connect route, we can actually get the logs coming, achieve the same logging structure and have it as one single infrastructure, like one single component, and logging would be homogenized as well.
Right. Okay. For the logs, I don't know how you guys are using it. Are you not relying on external add-ons such as FluentBit to extract these driver and executor logs running on Kubernetes? Probably that's the kind of an approach. It doesn't really matter. You just submit the jobs and FluentBit. You can point to these parts and extracts all the logs and write to external cloud storage or even write to any other storage systems.
I'm not sure about the Jupyter Enterprise Gateway logs, but there actually, if you look at the AWS documentation, there the logs, you have a specify a bucket, a directory on the bucket. Actually, it creates a virtual cluster directory and the endpoint directory, a subdirectory inside the virtual cluster directory. And because of those levels of abstractions, the logging structure differ. So I think FluentD is still being used, but we are unable to, I tried redirecting it to the event logs directory, but the logs weren't picked by a history server at all because the underlying thing was
Yes,
the structure was totally different.
correct. Yeah, I guess you're right on that. And I'm not sure if anyone solved it. I guess some organizations have solved it. There's a Spark history server events. You can write to an external system with Hadoop clusters, and you can have logs and Spark histories. You can have log links to individual executors from the Spark history server. But with the Spark on Kubernetes, logs are not built into Spark history server, which is that will be a great feature if we can solve that. Like now, the users can just simply use Spark History Server to look at the metrics as well as look at the individual logs for these executors. Currently, those are kind of detached. Event goes into one location and the logs goes into a different location using whatever with you write FluentBit or FluentD.
Yep. But coming back to that, I think probably we should look at running Spark workload interactively to the roadmap, I would say.
Yeah.
I think
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. The Apache operator is doing this by basically spinning up a standalone Spark master. It's not even using the Kubernetes driver steps. It's just spinning up a standalone cluster as a stateful set. I think that's how the new operator's achieving this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this could be done. I think my question is like, because I know we've been discussing this before. Did you try to take a look at Almond and try to use Almond as a Scala kernel with Spark?
I actually tried that, but my most of the research we do it in our customer areas. I mean, customer environment. And the problem is they're not very keen on Almond because it requires Spark 3, sorry, Scala 3 in general. And the version of Spark, they're like, I think EMR 6.10.0 or 6.10.1, which is Scala 2.12.15, and they didn't want to upgrade Spark the Scala versions at this point of time. So even in Kubeflow, we actually went down through the enterprise gateway route. That's what we have deployed. They didn't want Livy because it's not very actively maintained.
Yeah, so because we have a lot of friends from Almond community, and so I guess like if we kind of provide a unified way of running remote kernels within Kubernetes, I think those guys will be really happy to work with us because we for example like using Almond for most of our customers on Scala, and it's quite stable.
Okay, I heard about Almond for sure, but yeah. That'll be interesting.
Sorry, what's the project called? Can we put
Almond. I will send you the link. Give me a minute.
I think it's this one I shared in the notes.
Okay.
Yeah, good user base there.
In general, yeah, good.
I actually pasted the GitHub link.
Yeah, got it. It's just open.
So again, I think on the interactive use cases, I mean, I would love this community to actually spend time on this, and we can definitely, provide help and support in terms of what is the right architecture in terms of running interactive Spark applications. Yeah, but I think we need to see how we can build open source Jupyter to work very nicely with Spark, right? Because different, I know that different folks are using different approaches, right? All the way from the enterprise gateway to the different approaches, right? Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Anyone has any questions? All right. So this is one thing we'll put into the roadmap to do further investigation around that. It seems to be like an interesting feature that everyone wants to use it. Okay, so moving on to the next issue topic for today is scaling Spark operator ideas. I guess we to solve the scaling issues in terms of launching the jobs. There is a thread I just copy pasted here. If this is a thread originally started, but take a look at this thread. With the introduction of QPS, hopefully that should improve the performance of the Spark operator, but there are also some ideas around it, which is basically what Sebastian suggested here, but maybe this is the area we'll keep it open. If anyone has any idea of improving launching Spark applications faster by offloading some of those things to, like in this case, Sebastian said, maybe we can have a dedicated pod for that. Just an idea there. But if you think of anything, not all the organizations or the users have hit these performance issues, but especially I heard this from large scale customers running really, 20,000, 30,000 of pods on, then they started to see this bit of a lag there. And that's the only concern. But apart from that, if there is a scope to improve the performance, we will keep that in our roadmap. So for now, I just left the issue there so that the topic is not closed, and we will keep looking into it to see if that can be improved further.
I think
Anybody
something
has
that's
any? Yeah, go on, Jack.
Sorry, I keep interrupting people by accident. I think something that's missing here is a way to actually reproduce these particular controller performance issues. If I was still at my last employer, I could just take a look at production. But now that I'm only running stuff on kind, I can't easily replicate a high performance or high concurrency scenario. So I think Unicorn had some similar issues with like effectively soak testing with large scale to encounter like race conditions with multiple go routines or scaling issues like this. I mean, is there any scope for using open source credits from AWS, for example, to spin up a large scale test environment so we could reproduce some of these issues and then actually look at the controller performance profiles?
Yeah. So, and I think the answer is yes. And for Apache Unicorn, I collaborated with the community and through AWS open source. I work with AWS, if folks know, and I tried to talk to internal AWS folks and managed to find some credits to run some benchmarks for Apache Unicorn. We can certainly do the same thing for Spark Operator as well. So I'll add that as my action here. If that's going to help us run some tests, once we define probably like a load testing spec, saying what we want to run, how many nodes we need it, and then we can definitely get the credits for that.
Because I think any performance improvements should be data driven rather than like there's some simple stuff like QPS on the client sets and stuff like that. But I think anything more advanced than that should probably be data driven. So we're not just optimizing blindly and hoping for the best.
100%. Just to just to give you some details on that, I know we talked about this one. I asked internally at AWS with a few passionate folks to run some load tests on AWS account, which they ran. Initially, they said they didn't see much of improvement with the V2, but they did not configure the QPS feature. So, but since then it is pending. Now the next steps are they're going to change the QPS and then rerun the job again as per V2. And once I have a doc, I will share it with everyone to see the results on V1, V2, and V2 with the QPS changes. If that is going to see, if we see any, improvement there, then we are good. If not, we can. But in the meantime, I will also work with AWS to see if we can get some credits. But between us, we need to build some load testing plan, what we want to execute, so that we can use that to go back and get the credits for them. Okay.
Yeah,
questions?
I can. As we're scaling as well, I can donate a developer to also assist when the time comes.
Yeah, thanks, Nika.
Just a quick question.
So once we,
What? Yes. So sorry. Like, what was like the biggest change compared to V1, V2 that we saw significantly boost in performance? I thought we just migrated to control runtime, but was it like another significant changes that we've done?
yeah.
Oh, I mean, like,
so
okay, I see. With QPS, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. This is a QPS. The full history is in there, but then
Mm-hmm.
but there is now it is configurable from the Helm chart to adjust the QPS. But and again, you need to be mindful about whether that QPS, if you're using any cloud native like cloud technologies like GKE, EKS, or EKS, you need to look at whether they support the QPS as well. And not impacting the existing workloads. I think those are the areas to consider.
Yeah, I think the default like kube client QPS is not currently configurable, so it's probably the default 25/5. And I remember we ran into issues with that. Like where on our internal fork, we had to bump the QPS or make it configurable because that was shared. Like stuff like ingress creation and all that was also shared. So you'd run into like you get logs from the Klog inside the kube client saying like weighted blah blah due to client side load throttling. But I guess flow control is also a thing on Cube 1.28.29 plus. So, but I suspect that's probably not the bottleneck. I suspect the bottleneck is probably, as a few people have commented, is probably the mutex in the work queue structure. Right? I'm not too familiar with the work queue, how that works, but there's been some comments around a mutex in there.
Yes, yeah, you're right. And there's the mixed conversation. I get confused as well. And one say it improves, one say it doesn't. But yeah, the full history is this. To go into the more details around it, it's worth testing that we do with the new QPS changes to see if that makes any difference. And this is one test that they ran. This is with the V1 and V2. But yeah, so I'll share that once I have some details. But in the meantime, it's open topic for everyone. Right. Okay. So moving, if nobody has any questions, moving on to the next one. I'm not sure who added this. Duplicate documentation, GitHub, Kubeflow.org. Anyone wants to talk about it?
I actually added this one. Some
Yeah.
of the comments I see in Slack are people are recommending, like referring to a GitHub documentation, which they didn't update in many places, and then they're not looking at the Kubeflow documentation. So I thought I'll put it there. discussion idea for the community call that we just remove it and redirect them to the Kubeflow website, because that's where most of our users are putting the documentation.
You're
think
referring
that's,
to
I think we removed all the docs from the GitHub, isn't it?
And the README and all, they're still there.
the docs are gone. You're talking about these docs. These are just API and release doc at the moment.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
if you look at the README file at the root of the repo, those ones,
This one?
yeah, these ones, and it actually calls other pages, some of the other pages as well. So some people were following this documentation, and that, yeah, I think this one is updated now.
Okay. All right. I think probably if you notice any of those things, links broken or still referring to the old one, worth raising an issue
Okay.
on that basis. But yeah, like in this case, there's a GCP guide here. Yeah. We will check those links and see if there is anything missing. But pretty much all the docs should be pointing to Kubeflow now. If not, yeah. All right. And someone added this generated client-side informers don't follow Golang semantic versioning. Do you want to talk about it?
maybe this is the whole Go mod as a repo. Like we had some little internal stuff that I wrote that was pulling the API structs and the client sets that are generated as part of Kube Builder. I think I'd have to check the make files and stuff, but I noticed that after we bumped to V2, like the Golang mod versioning, you need to move all your code under a V2 folder, I think. So like Golang falls back on this whole commit sudo char thing. Like you can't pull the Spark operator Go mod by the semantic versioning. You need to pull it based on the sudo commit thing that Go does. So maybe I should rewrite this too. Repo doesn't follow Golang semantic versioning. I had a quick read of the Go page. I think we need to move everything under a V2 folder in order to be able to pull by the tags properly. But I'm not sure how this affects the repo structure. I'm wondering if it's worth, like, if we can use a Go workspace and maybe have two separate Go mods or something like that. I'm not sure.
Worth raising an issue, Jacob, just to throw that idea to see anyone has any comments on that.
Yeah, I'll raise a GitHub issue for it.
Sure. Right. I think we are up the meeting at 7 minutes. We've touched upon everything, but if anyone has any questions, you want to use the 7 minutes time.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment about the read-only root file system. That one works perfectly fine. So I know Nick is working on that the Helm test validation, but yeah, it is functional. So
Okay. Thank you. So does that PR solve the problem for you?
the PR allows it to so
Make it default.
yeah, so not this one. So this one is different. Like they're
Okay.
both in the security context, but the read-only root file system, that one, both of these I know will work because we're using them. But just so you're aware that set read-only root file system does work.
Okay.
I know there's a couple Helm chart validations, but like right now it's more dealing with the testing than it is dealing with the actual solution. So just so you're aware.
So where are you adding this again? Read-only root file system true? Is it in the manifest?
So there's a different PR for that. So if you go back, like this isn't the same PR. That one right there, set read-only root file system true for controller and webhook. Yeah,
That's a draft PR. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it should be published, but it's still drafted. Okay. But yeah, I mean, it provides the option. So, and it is functional.
Right. Got it. Okay. Let's change to the controller.
And webhook.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thanks, Nico. Anyone? So once this is changed to non-draft, maybe we can review it and merge that. If that is working, you confirm. That's great. All right. 5 minutes. Anyone has any other questions?
I think just one maybe question from my side. I know we're planning to include Spark Operator as part of Kubeflow manifest around March timeframe before the KubeCon in Europe. So I know we have roadmap, right, for this year. Do we know how many releases actually we're planning to have for Spark Operator in upcoming quarters?
I don't. So, who is speaking?
Yeah, it's
That's
actually, let
Andre.
me let me introduce
That's
myself. I
Andre.
think Nico, yeah, it's me.
Yeah.
So
It's 1 a.m. for him. I don't know how he's doing it, but
yeah, it's quite late here in London.
yeah.
Yeah, but in any case, Nico, let me just my name is Andre. I work at Apple and I'm part of the Kubeflow steering committee. So been there in this community just building distributed training operators and different parts of the Kubeflow project for 6.5 years. Yeah, so I think my question, since like we want to include Spark operator as part of Kubeflow release, and maybe in the future also like in the conformance and all other parts. Um, so Mara, do you know how many releases you're planning to have before, maybe even not March, but in January timeframe?
I don't think we planned anything.
Yeah, I don't
The
think
number of
anything has been planned, but it depends on the speed of iteration. So there's all these a number of pending bugs I think need to be resolved. So probably another 1 or 2 releases. I guess E can comment, but yeah, it seems like it. Maybe 2 or 3 releases.
I think that makes sense. And which Kubernetes version do we target in those releases?
That's a good question. Do we have a Kubernetes matrix that we currently support? Because yeah, because it's quite flexible. I think we span a number of Kubernetes versions. We don't really use any Kubernetes APIs that are in beta or alpha stage. So across Kubernetes versions, there's not really that much that we have to do.
Yeah, but how many, like in which Kubernetes version you run your unit tests, or your integration test, like your GitHub Actions?
I think it's 1.29. Just 1.29.
Just one version, right? Yeah, because like for
Yeah.
example, we in different projects we run, 3 versions of Kubernetes, right? To make sure like in any of them you can run those applications.
I think Spark
Yeah.
on Cube itself supports 1.16 up based on the Spark docs. And yeah, Charan's right. I don't think we're using any specific Cube stuff, but yeah, we could probably run a matrix. I think that's pretty common across open source projects I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think be aligned with Kubernetes version is one of the most significant thing we need to do to include it, right? Because if we say we support 1.29 to 1.31, we need to make sure like this is supported in Spark operator. Yeah.
Yeah, we can change it in your versions. I know. I worked with some of the customers using 1.31 Spark operator and 1.30 as well, which works fine. So maybe we can we can move to the latest one and keep it.
Yeah, I think it's always good to run tests on at least 3 versions of Kubernetes, but it's up to you to decide like how you want to run your. We have like enterprise GitHub account, right? So it's fine to run multiple parallel, unit tests, E2 tests.
Right.
Yeah, there's no general restriction on the GitHub minutes, right? Like we can probably just run these on every PR and it's fine.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
had restrictions before in the free version, but I think right now after CNCF we have enterprise version of GitHub. So it's much more parallel actions we can run.
Yeah. All right. I think we can discuss that, and then we can add that as an issue and try to expand our test to probably not all the releases. How are we doing? Probably the current release and the previous release or something like that. I'm not solutionizing, but we can definitely raise an issue and work from there. But now we are up the hour. Anybody has anything? Otherwise, thank you very much for joining the call. And let's collaborate on the issues itself.
Thanks
All
everyone.
right.
See you around.
Okay. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
See you.
Right, bye.